Hi friends, welcome and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Sigrid and I make videos about books because I love them. Today I'm going to be doing my monthly book of the month unboxing. I actually have 2 months to unbox in this video, so I will be unboxing April's box and May's box. I get 2 boxes, so I will be unboxing 4 boxes in total. So let's get started. So we're on to our first box for April. And the first book that I got is Camp Zero, and this is by Michelle Min Sterling. In a near-future northern settlement, the fates of a young woman, a professor, and a mysterious collective of climate researchers collide in this mesmerizing and transportive debut novel. In remote northern Canada, a team led by a visionary American architect is breaking ground on a building project called Camp Zero, intended to be the beginning of a new way of life. A clever and determined young woman codenamed Rose is offered a chance to join the Blooms, a group hired to entertain the men in camp, but her real mission is to secretly monitor the mercurial architect in charge. In return, she'll receive a home for her climate-displaced Korean immigrant mother and herself. Rose quickly secures the trust of her target, only to discover that everyone has a hidden agenda and nothing is as it seems. Through carefully braided perspectives, including those of a young professor longing to escape his wealthy family and an all-American military research unit struggling for survival at a climate station, the fate of Camp Zero's inhabitants reaches a stunning crescendo. So, this one sounded really interesting because I normally really like to pick the sci-fi books because I tend to like them. The last sci-fi book that I got from Book of the Month that I really liked was a Space Between Worlds, I believe. I think it was by Mackay Johnson. I gave it 5 stars. I think it was my first ever sci-fi read and I really enjoyed it. So I definitely want to give this a chance. I'm excited to read it. Okay, so next up we have romantic comedy by Curtis Sittenfeld. Sally Mills is a sketch writer for The Night Owls, a late-night live comedy show that airs every Saturday. With a couple of heartbreaks under her belt, she's long abandoned the search for love, settling instead for the occasional hookup, career success, and a close relationship with her stepfather to round out a satisfying life. But when Sally's friend and fellow writer Danny Hurst begins dating Annabelle, a glamorous actress who guest hosted the show, he joins the not-so-exclusive group of talented but average-looking and even dorky men at the show and in society at large who've gotten romantically involved with incredibly beautiful and accomplished women. Sally channels her annoyance into a sketch called The Danny Horse Rules, poking fun at this phenomenon while underscoring how unlikely it is that the reverse would ever happen for a woman. Enter Noah Brewster, a pop music sensation with a reputation for dating models, who signed on as both host and musical guest for this week's show. Dazzled by his charms, Sally hits it off with Noah instantly, and as they collaborate on one sketch after another, she begins to wonder if there might actually be sparks flying. But this isn't a romantic comedy, it's real life. And in real life, someone like him would never date someone like her, right? With her keen observation and trademark ability to bring complex women to life on the page, Curtis Sittenfeld explores the neurosis-inducing and heart-fluttering wonder of love, while slyly dissecting the social rituals of romance and gender relations in the modern world. So I really liked this book because I feel like it's inspired by SNL, and I actually feel like I know who they're talking about. I feel like it's inspired by actual events because there's a guy on there, I think his name is Colin, and he's dating Scarlett Johansson of all people, and I feel like most people would probably say he's like an average guy and he's dorky, so it's definitely like, but I'm thinking like, who could the woman be? Like, who would the woman be? Like, is it like really inspired? I don't know, but I'm excited to read this because I am a like SNL fan, so it would be really cool to see that. I like that. And finally, I got The Only Survivors by Megan Miranda. I just had to get the thriller pick. 7 hours in the past, 7 days in the present, 7 survivors remaining. Who would you save? A decade ago, 2 vans filled with high school seniors on a school service trip crashed into a Tennessee ravine. A tragedy that claimed the lives of multiple classmates and teachers. The 9 students who managed to escape the river that night was irrevocably changed. A year later, after one of the survivors dies by suicide on the anniversary of the crash, the rest of them make a pact to come together each year to commemorate that terrible night, to keep one another safe, to hold one another accountable, or both. Their annual meeting place, a house on the Outer Banks, has long been a refuge. But by the 10th anniversary, Cassidy Bent has worked to distance herself from the tragedy and from the other survivors. She's changed her mobile number, she's blocked the other's email address. This year, she is determined to finally break ties once and for all. But on the day of the reunion, she receives a text with an obituary attached. Another survivor is gone. Now there are 7. And Cassidy finds herself hurtling back towards the group, wild with grief and suspicion. Almost immediately, something feels off this year. Cassidy is the first to notice when Amaya, the annual organizer, slips away, overwhelmed. This wouldn't raise alarm except for the impending storm. Suddenly, they're facing the threat of closed roads and surging waters again. Then Amaya stops responding to her phone. After all they've been through, she wouldn't willingly make them worry, would she? And as they promised long ago, each survivor will do whatever he or she can to save one another, won't they? A propulsive and chilling locked box mystery filled with the dazzling hairpin twists that are the author's signature. The Only Survivors is best-selling author Megan Miranda's best novel yet. This is intriguing. I don't think I've read anything like this, so I'm excited to give this one a shot. And then finally, we got a bookmark that says responsibilities are overrated. Facts. I agree. Okay, so we are on to our second April box. The first book that I got was Advika and the Hollywood Wives, and this is by Kirthana Ramansetti. At age 26, Advika considers herself a failed screenwriter. To pay the bills and keep her mind off of the recent death of her twin sister, she's taken to bartending A-list events, including the 2015 Governor's Ball, the official after-party of the Oscars. There, in a cinematic dream come true, she meets the legendary Julian Zelding, a film producer as handsome as Paul Newman and 10 times as powerful, fresh off his 5th Best Picture win. Despite their 41-year age difference, Advika falls helplessly under his spell, and their evening flirtation ignites into a whirlwind courtship and elopement. Advika is enthralled by Julian's charm and luxurious lifestyle, but while Julian loves to talk about his famous friends and achievement, he smoothly changes the subject whenever his previous relationships comes up. Then, less than a month into their marriage, Julian's first wife, the famous actress Evie Lockhart, dies and make a shocking stipulation in her will. A single film reel and $1 million will be bequeathed to Julian's latest child bride on one condition: Advika must divorce him first. Shaken out of her love fog and still simmering grief over the loss of her sister and uneasy about Julian's sudden inexplicable urge to start a family, Advika decides to investigate him through the eyes and experiences of his ex. To listening to his second wife's confessional albums, to watching his third wife's Real Housewives-esque reality show, Advika starts to understand how little she knows about her husband. Realizing that she rushed into the marriage for all the wrong reason, Advika concocts a plan to extradite herself from Julian once and for all. The next book that I got is Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. When two young rival journalists find love through a magical connection, they must face the depths of hell in a war between gods to seal their fate forever. After centuries of sleep, the gods are warring again, but 18-year-old Iris Renault just wants to hold her family together. Her mother is suffering from addiction, and her brother is missing from the front lines. Her best bet is to win the columnist promotion at the Oath Gazette. To combat her worries, Iris writes letters to her brother and slips them beneath her wardrobe door, where they vanish into the hands of Roman Kidd, her cold and handsome rival at the paper. When he anonymously writes Iris back, the two of them forge a connection that will follow Iris all the way to the front lines of battle. For her brother, the fate of mankind, and love. Oh, that is cute. So I love this because I think it might be a fantasy. So yes, it's a fantasy and I'm excited to read it. So, and finally, I have some questions for you by Rebecca Mackay. I think it's Mackay. A successful film professor and podcaster, Bodie Kane is content to forget her past. The family tragedy that marred her adolescence, her 4 largely miserable years at the New Hampshire boarding school, and the murder of her former roommate, Thalia Keith, in the spring of their senior year. Though the circumstances surrounding Thalia's death and the conviction of the school athlete's trainer Omar Evan are hotly debated online, Bodhi prefers needs to let sleeping dogs lie. But when the Grandy School invites her back to teach a course, Bodhi is drawn to the case and its increasingly apparent flaws. In their rush to convict Omar, did the school and the police overlook other suspects? Is the real killer still out there? As she falls down the very rabbit hole she was so determined to avoid, Bodhi begins to wonder if she wasn't as much of an outsider at Granby as she thought. If perhaps back in 1995 she knew something that might have held the key to solving the case. And I have some questions for you. Award-winning author Rebecca Mackay has crafted her most irresistible novel yet, a stirring investigation into collective memory and a deeply felt examination of one woman's reckoning with her past, with a transfixing mystery at its heart. Timely, hypnotic, and populated with a cast of unforgettable characters, I Have Some Questions for You is at once a compulsive page-turner and a literary triumph. I'm excited to read this. It does seem a little thick. You guys, I don't know. And then we have another bookmark that says responsibilities are overrated. And that is it for April's boxes. Okay, you guys, we're on to May's box. We're going to start with box number 1. Starting off with the bookmark this time. And it says, we've hit triple digits. 100 months ago, Book of the Month relaunched to help readers like you discover new books they love and promote the work of emerging authors. Thank you for being part of our journey. Okay, so the first book that I see is The True Love Experience by Christina Lauren. I have been waiting for this one, so happy about that. Sparks fly when a romance novelist and a documentary filmmaker join forces to craft the perfect Hollywood love story, but only if they can keep the chemistry between them from taking the whole thing off script. Felicity Fizzy Chen is lost. Sure, she's got an incredible career as a beloved romance novelist with a slew of bestsellers under her belt, but when she's asked to give a commencement address, it hits her. She hasn't been practicing what she's preached. Live your life like a romance novel. Fizzy hasn't ever really been in love. Lust? Definitely. But the swoon-worthy can't stop thinking about him all-encompassing feeling she describes in her books? Nope. Never. Worse still, the optimism she's spent her career encouraging in readers is starting to feel like a lie. Her Prince, documentary filmmaker and single father, loves his work because it allows him to live near his daughter. But when his profit-minded boss orders him to create a reality TV show, Connor is out of his element and concerned for his professional reputation. Desperate to find a hook that will set his project apart from the myriad of dating shows already on the air, he finds the perfect solution after an encounter with his ex-wife's favorite author. What if he could show the queen of romance herself falling head over heels for all the world to see? Fizzy quickly picks up on his disdain for her genre and gives him a hard pass, unless he agrees to cast the contestants according to her list of demands. To her surprise, he accepts her intentionally impossible terms. She decides to take it as an opportunity to rediscover the joy they've been missing and inadvertently prove to him that there is more to crafting a love story than meets the eye. Starring in Connor's show is Fizzy's chance to finally step into the role of romance heroine, but when the lights come up and all eyes are on her, it turns out her happily ever after might just lie behind the camera. I'm excited. This sounds really great. I can't wait to read that one too. Okay, we have another romance book. This one is Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. Dr. Brianna Ortiz's life is seriously flatlining. Her divorce is just about finalized, her brother's running out of time to find a kidney donor, and that promotion she wants, oh, that's probably going to the new man doctor who's already registering 87 on Brianna's pain in the ass scale. But just when all systems are set to hate, Dr. Jacob Maddox completely flips the game by sending Brianna a letter. And it's a really good letter, like the kind that proves that Jacob isn't actually Satan. Worse, he might be this fantastically funny and subversively likable guy who's terrible at first impressions. Because suddenly, he and Bri are exchanging letters, sharing lunch dates in her sob closet, and discussing the merits of freakingly tiny horses. But when Jacob decides to give Brianna the best gift imaginable, a kidney for her brother, she wonders just how she can resist this quietly sexy new doctor, especially when he calls in a favor she can't refuse. And finally, we have Did you hear about Kitty Carr? And this is by Crystal Smith Paul. When Kitty Carr Tate, a white icon of the silver screen, dies and bequeaths her multi-million-dollar estate to the St. John sisters, 3 young, wealthy black women, it prompts questions. Lots of questions. A celebrity in her own right, Eliz St. Johnson would rather focus on sorting out Kitty's affairs than deal with the press. But what she discovers in one of Kitty's journal rocks her world harder than any other brewing scandal could. And between a cheating fiancé and the fallout from a controversial social media post, there are plenty. The truth behind Kitty's ascent to stardom, from her beginnings in the segregated South, threatens to expose a web of unexpected family ties, debts owed, and debatable crimes that could, with one pull, unravel the all-American fabric of the St. John sister and those closest to her. As Eliz digs deep into Kitty's past, she must also turn the lens upon herself, confronting the gifts and burdens of her own choice and the powers that the secrets of the dead hold over the living. Did You Hear About Kitty Carr is a sprawling page-turner set against the backdrop of the Hollywood machine, an insightful and nuanced look at the inheritance of family, race, and gender, and the choices some women make to break free of them. Okay, so it is a BIPOC author, by the way, if you guys did not know. It is a black woman. This is reminding me a little bit of the 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, which I really enjoy. So I'm excited to give this a try in hopes that it is a similar kind of story. There's a news reporter, there's this like famous person, but honestly it's a little bit different because this character that was famous, like, she died, and so now it's like an investigative reporter. But in Taylor Jenkins Reid books, you know, she was alive and she did an interview, so it's different. Honestly, I think the secret is going to be that she's like secretly black and she was passing, so that's why it kind of immediately made me think of 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Okay, so that was everything in the first box. Let's move on to the final box in this video. And we have it here. We get another bookmark that says the same thing. The next book that I got is a shocker because I still haven't read any of the books in this genre that I've gotten. But this one is Clytemnestra, I think that's how you say it, and it's by Costanza Casati. I think it's one of those like books such as like Circe, and I have other books that are similar to it, but I just haven't taken the chance to actually read those to see if they're actually things that I would like. Monarch, mother, murderer, magnificent. You were born to a king, but you marry a tyrant. You stand by helplessly as he sacrifices your child to placate the gods. You watch him wage war on a foreign shore, and you comfort yourself with violent thoughts of your own. Because this was not the first offense against you. This was not the life you ever deserved, and this will not be your undoing. Slowly, you plot. When your husband returns and triumphs, you become a woman with a choice, acceptance or vengeance. Infamy follows both. So you bide your time and force the god's hand in the game of retribution, for you understood something long ago that the others never did. If power isn't given to you, you have to take it for yourself. A blazing novel set in the world of ancient Greece and told through the eyes of its most notorious heroine, this is a thrilling tale of powers and prophecies of hatred, of love, and of an unforgettable queen who fiercely dealt out death to those who wronged her. That is why I got this, because I was like, I am normally not someone who is really into these books, but this one sounds like a boss girl. Like, this sounds like a bad girl. I love it. I love it. I love vengeance. Like, I'm the type of person, I fully applaud vengeance, getting revenge. Yes. Do the wrong thing. Okay, so next up we have The Last Word by Taylor Adams. After posting a negative book review, a woman living in a remote location begins to wonder if the author is a little touchy or very, very dangerous. This pulse-pounding novel of psychological suspense and terror from the critically acclaimed author of No Exit and Hairpin Bridge. Emma Carpenter is living in isolation with her golden retriever, Leica, house-sitting an old beachfront home on the rainy Washington coast. Her only human connection is with her enigmatic elderly neighbor, Deke, and via text with the house's owner, Jules. One day she reads a poorly written but gruesome horror novel by the author H.G. Cain and posts a 1-star review that drags her into an online argument with none other than the author herself. Soon after, disturbing incidents start to occur at night. To Emma, this can't just be a coincidence. It was strange enough for this author to bicker with her online about a lousy review. Could he be stalking her too? As Emma digs into Cain's life and works, she learns he has published 16 other novels, all similarly sadistic tales of stalking and murder. But who is he? How did he find her? And what else is he capable of? Molly, you in danger, girl. All I'm gonna say is I'm excited because I feel like this is such a unique plot. It's something that happens, well, obviously not the stalking part, but like going back and forth with authors sometimes, like if you give them a 1-star review, sometimes they might, like there are a few authors who will like clap back at you. This is like, it takes it there. I'm excited to read this. And the final book that we have today is The Collected Regrets of Clover, and this is by Mickey Brammer. What's the point of giving someone a beautiful death if you can't give yourself a beautiful life? From the day she watched her kindergarten teacher drop dead during a dramatic telling of Peter Rabbit, Clover Brooks has felt a stronger connection with the dying than she has with the living. After the beloved grandfather who raises her dies alone while she is traveling, Clover becomes a death doula in New York City, dedicating her life to ushering people peacefully through their end-of-life process. Clover spends so much time with the dying that she has no life of her own, until the final wishes of a feisty old woman sends Clover on a road trip across the country to uncover a forgotten love story and perhaps her own happy ending. As she finds herself struggling to navigate the uncharted waters of romance and friendship, Clover is forced to examine what she really wants and whether she'll have the courage to go after it. I love it. So on the back it says, "Death she gets. It's life she can't quite figure out." This sounds interesting. Like, I feel like I know why I picked all of these books and I just really like it. So I'm excited about that. We have quite a few books to add to my TBR list now. But yeah, that is everything that I got for you guys today. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, please hit the like and subscribe button to help support my channel. But until next time, I will see you guys later. Bye.